Welcome back to another episode of the Latter-day Saint Geeks podcast. I'm Spencer, and I'm joined for his first time on the podcast, but not his first time with the blog, Russell. Go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi, I'm Russell. I'm a Latter-day Saint geek, I guess. I
You wouldn't be here if you weren't, right?
newly. What's
You
that?
wouldn't be here if you weren't, right?
That's right. Yeah, I guess that's it. Right. So, big fan of most things geek related. I guess I will say I have noticed just in my I love Harry Potter. I love Star Wars. I love most every. I guess that's all popular media
Yeah.
stuff. I have great love for sports as well, and so I have had some thoughts about writing about sports. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that's
Excited to be
received, too,
here.
because not all geeks are
That's
sports
right.
lovers.
That's right. That's it. Right. So I understand. I feel like I dip my toes into a lot of different things, and so yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all goes. So bear with me, I guess, as I guess I fit into the geek and the jock category, and I hope that's okay.
That's
So
okay. Yeah, we met in a award in Utah, and during the pandemic, we were running buddies. So I've kind of seen you
that's
on
right.
both the jock side and the geek side.
That's right. Yep.
uh,
Yep.
that was
And then I'm also a physical therapist,
yeah. So
so
you
we
were
have
we
that
had
connection.
pilling conversations about that while I was in school.
Yes. Yes. Yes, indeed. Right. So um, remember talking with you about the board exams. Hope that doesn't bring on any PTSD, just
Ugh.
because. I have a cousin who just took medical boards, and I'm just like, grateful that time has passed for now.
All right. Well,
So
without further ado, we're going to get into the content of this episode. We're going to be talking about the 50th Hunger Games, also known as the Second Quarter Quell. Um, but before we get into that speculation for the new book and everything, we're going to go through our recommendations real quick. Um, I have been through a bit of stress between work and moving, and found while moving this old CD with like original Pokemon soundtrack, the 2B Master soundtrack from like early 2000s. So I don't know if you were into
nice.
Pokemon as a kid. I can't remember.
I was, yeah, in middle school. That was the thing, right? I mean, I was
Yeah.
not. I wouldn't say I was a master collector or anything like that. I had my goes of it, and I played on the Game Boy. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I ever beat it. I think I did, but
Beating
anyways,
Pokemon
yeah,
means a lot of
definitely.
different things
Again,
for a lot of different people, though.
that's
Like,
right.
do you beat the
That's
Elite
right.
Four,
That's
or
right.
do you beat complete the Pokedex? It's a journey.
That's true. I would say I think I beat the Elite Four. I did not complete the
Mm.
Pokedex. So
Well,
again,
well, the soundtrack that
take
I
that for what
found
it's worth.
while packing, it's got the original Pokemon theme song, the Poke Rap from the
Nice.
end of the original episodes, and if you ever watched into like the second season with the Orange Islands, there was like a Pokemon song at the end of each episode, um, about Team Rocket or about Ash and
Yep.
Pikachu or whatever. So there's a lot of those
Nice.
songs on
Yep.
this CD, as well as some others that I mean, I had this CD as a kid, but I'd never heard them on the TV show before getting this CD. But so I've
Nice.
known them for like 20 plus years. But
Sure.
and
Well, that had to be some
oh
nostalgia,
yeah,
right?
it's
So
been with all the stress with moving and work and everything. It's been great for like that nostalgia dopamine hit.
yeah, that's great.
And I was looking it
Awesome.
up. Since I'm recommending it, I figured I should make sure it's available to listeners. And I checked the iTunes store. It's available on the iTunes store, so it's probably available on like Amazon Music or Spotify. I
Sure.
haven't checked those spots,
Yeah.
but it is available for purchase.
There you go. Awesome.
All right, what are you recommending?
I'm recommending the original Mission Impossible movie. I have recently, let's say, I've got an Amazon Prime free account, and then I did a free trial of Paramount Plus. I forgot to cancel it before the week trial was up, so I've got
Not
it
so
for
free
another month.
anymore.
Yeah, that's right. So I have made sure to cancel it so I don't have any more
Right.
going for the next month. But all the Mission Impossible movies are on there. And my wife and I decided to watch the original or the first one. So again, I could also throw a recommendation out for the original TV series, but I'm not as familiar with that. I've only watched a few episodes, but that's kind of fun. I'm going back to the first Mission Impossible movie that most people are probably familiar with Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames and John Voight and lots of other actors that I don't know right now. But anyways, again, nostalgia factor. I remember when that came out. I was actually at a sleepover at a friend's house, and they watched it the morning I had to leave. So I didn't get a chance to watch the movie until later on, and now it's just become one of those fun ones that's like, how do they do that? And of course, now that I've gotten older, I feel like, again, there was a point where I'm like, well, I know the storyline, but there was a point where I had to leave the room and I came back in and I was like, wait, stop. I just want to make sure I'm clear on what's happening. And my wife was like, yeah, sure. I've got this whole thing memorized, so it's okay. So then I'm like, oh, okay. And so I was geeking out in that sense of like, I got to make sure I understand every aspect of every detail that's bringing this plot along, even though I know how this movie ends and I know the basic gist of everything. I was very much in the details. And, anyways, it was, again, a fun,
Yeah.
nostalgic, like, this is awesome. I can't believe that happened. And how did that not happen? And of course, there's one side of me that's like, well, because the actors and the movie writers made it that way. But the other side of me is like, yeah, I know. But if this was real, I don't know how that would happen. And, anyways, it was just a fun little thing there. So,
Kind of sounds like it fits into the emotional investment post that you did this last week. That you've seen it a
yeah.
million times, but you still got to catch every detail.
Oh, brother, yeah, sometimes that happens too often with movies, which can be a problem. So,
That's okay.
anyways.
Well, like I said, today we're gonna talk about the 50th Hunger Games or the Quarter Quell. Um, it was announced this summer, back in June, that there's going to be another prequel Hunger Games book, and it's set to be released March 20, end of next year, but I haven't verified that yet. Oh yes, film adaptation set to be released. Oh, November 2026. So about a year and a half after the book is released. Um, it's set during the 50th
That-
Hunger Games, so that's when Haymitch was in the games, and we know a lot of the details from about the Quarter Quell from the Catching Fire book, but we don't like. So it makes me wonder, like, what are we gonna? What? How is this book and movie going to be intriguing to readers and viewers when we already know a lot of what's going on? So,
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I will say, first of all, I think that Suzanne Collins read our blog post because she announced that that book was coming out the day after I posted about Catching Fire. So I'm just kidding. I don't think that actually happened.
wouldn't that be cool
I
though?
think that's a good point. Oh, that would be awesome, right? I do think that it, it's just going to be more detailed, right?
Oh, of
Haymitch is
course.
mentioned in Catching Fire, just like they already had my girl or whatever, right? And maybe that might be in the Mockingjays
I'm not sure, but
book. I
we'll
can't
get to
remember.
that in
But
because I have a whole list of details of what we already know
great.
from the Quarter
Yep.
Quell.
Yep.
But and we'll get to speculation afterwards. So I was thinking, let's
Okay.
start with what we know, and then speculate until
Yep.
we run out of time.
Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So we know that the Quarter Quell was second Quarter Quell was twice the amount of tributes. So instead of having 12 boys, 12 girls, it was 24 and 24. Um, Obviously, Haymitch was one of the District 12 boys, but and eventually the victor. But Maisie Donner was another District 12 tribute. He was friends with Katniss's mother. So, and I think I didn't write this down one way or the other, but I think she was the original owner of the Mockingjay pin. But, Now, because the Mockingjay pin had different origins in the movie compared to the book, I'm questioning
Yeah,
myself on that.
right.
So, but
Well, yeah, that's a good question.
but she,
I thought for some reason I thought it was the mayor's daughter who gave it to Katniss
yeah,
in the
but
book,
Maisie may
and I
have
don't
been
know her
her aunt or
connection.
something. I can't remember. So I'd have
Okay,
to. I'll probably look it up while we're chatting. But
yeah,
until then, don't quote me on that.
yeah, understandable.
um, in the bloodbath, or yeah, the initial bloodbath of the games, 18 tributes were killed. I don't remember how many were killed in the other three games that we have books for, including the original Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and the um, President Snow prequel, which the name is Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Ballad of
That's what it's called.
Songbirds and Snakes.
But it I don't remember the numbers that died in those bloodbaths, but it was not pretty for sure.
Well, it was always. I think it's always significantly. It would be significantly less, right? Because there were only 24 total, whereas here we had 48. So if you had 24 die or 18 of 24 die in that first go around, that's leaving you with six. Whereas here you still have more than half the tributes left. And anyways,
Yeah, I was thinking 8 to 10 or something is
uh,
probably
yeah,
what died in those
that's
original ones.
fair, right?
Um,
Yeah.
I did look it up as promised, and um, the Mockingjay pin did belong to. She's Maisie is in fact Madge Undersea's aunt. It's
Okay.
unknown whether Maisie wore the Mockingjay pin in the arena, but they were related, so I wasn't wrong there. I just
There you
missed a
go.
step in the connection at first.
That's all right.
So, um, the arena for the quarter quell was filled with lots of poisonous mutts and plants. Um, so I can't remember. I think that meant that like only the fresh water and only the like sponsor gifts were the only safe food. Um,
Okay.
which yikes, you have to be pretty well liked
Yeah.
to
Right.
be able to just survive on that. Never mind the actual surviving the other tributes.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I guess just to put in a speculative thing there, right? There'll probably be more deaths related to uh, environmental causes as opposed to killings, potentially, right? Like
Yeah. Uh,
death by poison as opposed to death by sword or something like that. So,
yeah, I'm just looking it up on the Hunger Games wiki, and yeah, the only sources of safe food and drink were rainwater and food from the cornucopia, and I would guess sponsor gifts.
yeah,
So,
right.
dang. It's a beautiful arena,
That's
but
definitely
everything was there to kill you.
yeah, right. So,
Um, but yeah, Maisie and Haymitch formed an alliance partway through, I believe. Well, they
yeah,
formed an alliance, and I believe it was partway through that happened. Um, and when it got down to just a few of them, they broke the alliance and kind of gave each other space so that they would hopefully not have to kill each other. But
right,
I mean, obviously that didn't work out too well because Maisie, of course, had to die in that situation, anyways. Um,
right,
Not at Haymitch's hand, but she still had to die.
right,
But
right,
um, we know that Haymitch used the force field at the outer rim of the arena to win the games. Um, but because he, like Katniss, kind of made a mockery of the games using the force field, his family was killed after the games. So, after all that, who can blame him for numbing out with all that drinking?
right.
So that is yes, and his girlfriend. You were right about that. Within 2 weeks after the games.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, it's not a lot to go off of, right? But you can probably surmise some things about how it's going to go, and we have the previous books um, and just kind of their format. And so, anyway, it'll be interesting just to kind of see who is followed. I mean, you can probably speculate that it'll be Haymitch, right? Because he's the
Yeah.
central character that everybody's can relate, not relate to, but everybody knows, and
But at the
would
same
be the one that
time,
would
the
be able
fact that he's
to.
a familiar character could be a reason to go elsewhere, like following Mazily
Sure,
around. But that would also
sure,
mean that the book would almost abruptly end at her death, which wouldn't make sense
right,
either.
right,
Um,
yeah. I think it'll probably be a similar format as Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes in that we'll see the games happen and then we'll see the aftermath. Whereas I feel like
yeah,
with um, both the first Hunger Games book and Catching Fire, the central point was the games, and once the games ended, more or less, we had an ending of the book. Whereas Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it was like we still had a good, I don't remember how many pages, but a good portion of the story to
I
go
think it
after the
was the
game's
last
finished.
third of the book was
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think the
Outside of the
first two
games,
parts were
yeah,
yeah, because the first part was like pre-games, the second part was during the games, I think, more or less, and then the third part
yeah,
was spoiler alert, he was in District 12. But it's
yeah,
been a few years
right.
since it came out, so I don't think I need to. If you haven't read it by this point, I'm guessing you're probably not listening to this episode, anyways.
Well, and you also have the movie that came out, which I haven't seen it, so I don't know how that was adapted,
It
but
was
I
all right.
can surmise that. Yeah,
It was all right. It was I had heard before watching the movie, and I kind of agree still that it probably would be a better movie for someone who had read the book. But my wife hasn't read
mm,
the book, and she still was able to follow the movie. But I think you understand Snow's motives and everything, of course, better in the book than the movie because you don't have his whole internal dialogue in the movie.
sure, right,
So, whereas
yeah,
every step you see in the book, you see why he's doing what he's doing for power and for
right.
glory and
Personal gain, stuff
survival.
like that. Yeah, yeah, survival. Yeah, yeah. So I think the biggest thing with this coming book, I do hope they follow Haymitch because I loved his portrayal in the movies, and Woody Harrelson I thought did a great job, and just loved him in the books, and again he's just one of those characters that like I think that this will give us some more insight into who he is prior to the drunk that he's portrayed in the beginning of the Hunger Games, uh, and it'll. I think we you can already sympathize with him because he basically did what he was asked to do and then lost everything. Which just the whole setup of society with the Hunger Games is just
Yeah,
terrible.
yikes to
But
begin with.
that's a discussion for another day, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see kind of what his character development will be like uh, during the lead up to the games, during the games, and after the games, because yeah, he's just intriguing in the original series, and so it'll be interesting to see kind of how that pre-development occurs.
Yeah. We know from Catching Fire that he was already kind of a smart aleck or pompous or however you want to describe it, because during his interview with Caesar that Katniss and Peeta watched in the book, that he saw, even though there was twice as many tributes, he saw them as still 100% as stupid. So um, the Hunger Games wiki calls
Yeah,
that wit and sarcasm, but I think it could be pride and just obnoxiousness. I'd say overconfidence, but he did win the games, so he was
that's
appropriately
it. Right?
confident.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to kind of see what in his early development gave him the confidence to know that he was going to win. Because I feel like Katniss kind of had that a similar uh, confidence to some
Except
degree.
that she was like
Um,
emotionally closed off because of everything with her
yes,
parents, so
right,
she was
right. she would never say something like that, right?
Well, she
So
barely talked to anyone. Like Caesar had to
yeah,
really pull it out of her because
right,
or Cinna and Caesar had to pull it out of her
yeah,
because she was
right,
so closed off. At
yeah,
least for the first games, and she was just trying to survive long enough to not
survive. Yeah.
traumatize
We'll
Prim.
get back to
I don't
yeah,
think at first
exactly.
she even considered winning. She just didn't want to die right
No,
away. And, I mean, her sister was already traumatized by her being there.
right, right.
Never mind anything else. Um,
Yeah. Well,
there was,
it'll be fun. I'm curious to know how it turns out, right?
yeah.
And
I did one last note before we kind of have to close out was that Suzanne Collins was quoted as, well, I don't have the quote here, but um, the writings of the philosopher David Hume were particularly inspirational for this book. Um,
okay,
the quote that I do have from her on the Hunger Games wiki is that, in his words, the easiness with which the many are governed by the few. So, just his idea of implicit submission, which I
well,
don't remember much about David Hume since like high school. I remember we talked about it in high school, him and Locke
oh,
and Rousseau, which I mostly knew about
mhm.
because they were referenced on Lost.
Okay, there you go.
But I don't think I've looked at them much since Lost ended.
I'm with you. I recognize the names, and I do know just in American history
Hmm.
classes and things like that that they were influential for a lot of the writers of the Declaration of Independence and Thomas Jefferson and things like that. But that's about the extent that I have on those philosophers. So I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'll have to brush up on my philosophy before, or I'll brush up on my philosophy after reading the book to be able to see
Hey,
how
that'd be a fun
they
discussion for
influenced the
after
way.
we read the book. Is
Sure.
dissecting David Hume
There you go.
um,
That's
based
it.
on Sunrise on the Reaping, which I think that's the first time I've used the title of
Okay.
the novel in this podcast
Okay.
episode. But
Okay.
he did say he was famous for saying, at least according to Wikipedia, that reason is and ought to be the slave of the passions. So, I mean,
Mm.
the natural man is an enemy to God kind of thought
Yeah.
process, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
reason and logic ought to be more important than emotion and feelings, which sounds very
Yeah.
Vulcan Spock to me. So it's only part of humanity, which will be interesting to delve into with the book. But
I'll make a plug for the hymn "Know This That Every Soul Is Free," just because I think it highlights some of
oh yeah,
the things we've been talking about here. So
agency, free will, all that good
that's right.
stuff that
That's
we
right.
fought for and continue to fight for.
That's right.
So,
Absolutely.
um, anything else you want to mention before we have to sign off?
I'm just looking forward to the book. As always, patience is a virtue, and we have to wait, and wait, and wait, and that's okay,
Yep.
right? Because eventually it'll be here, and that'll be good.
We've got about 6, 7 more months until the book comes out, and then you can probably expect us to be discussing it, whether on the blog or on the podcast at some point afterwards.
Absolutely.
Um, don't forget to check us out on social media. We've got our Instagram, Pinterest, Threads, Facebook, etc. And may the odds be ever in your favor.